Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video, I wanted to talk about natal Mercury square or opposite to Pluto. And I will talk about how these two aspects are different, like the square and the opposition, but I'm putting them in the same video because the themes are the same. We have a tension here, a hard aspect between Mercury, our mind, how we think, how we communicate, how we process new information, squaring or opposing Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, transformation, extreme depth, and it can also be a very compulsive or uncontrollable urge in our natal chart. So, with that being said, these aspects show someone who is very obsessive in their mode of thinking. And this can actually be really good for researchers or even like detective work or amazing astrologers because they're going to go so deep. I mean, I'm sure that if you have these aspects, you've probably studied astrology more in depth than even me or many of the astrologers that you would consult with because the level of like obsessive fascination that these people get with an idea or something that they're interested in is just unmatched. So it can actually show people with, I wouldn't say genius ability as much as like Mercury Uranus, but like high intelligence just because of the sheer like willpower that they have, especially with the square, to like study a subject to the bitter end and like know absolutely everything about it. So that can be one of the benefits of having these hard aspects, but these are definitely hard aspects, and I like to interpret the hard aspects as positive as I can, but these aspects between Mercury and Pluto can be so hard on the person and hard on mental health when we have these aspects. So, this can be probably one of the most difficult natal chart aspects that you can have because of how is really the mind and nervous system is really activated and really has a tendency to negative perception or even bordering on paranoia in some cases. These people can be extremely suspicious. These people can see dark motivations in others that are actually not there. Sometimes they are there though. So this is where it gets tricky that these people actually can have a knack, like I said, like detective work for like understanding how like criminal minds work or something like that, or understanding dark things that other people don't even want to think about. Other people might have their head in the sand and be like, none of that exists. And then Mercury Pluto people, or Mercury square Pluto, Mercury opposite Pluto, they know all about these darker things going on in the world. And, you could even say that maybe they're aware of certain conspiracy theories, for lack of a better term, but you guys know what I mean. These people can know things and have studied things that the vast majority do not know or do not believe or do not care to know because it's dark or it's negative or it's even scary. So they're definitely gifted in these realms. Like their mind is capable of studying things without even flinching, that would make other people extremely upset. So that can be a gift. So they can actually be excellent at like crisis counseling or like helping people through very dark matters, like psychologists, or even counselors that are helping people with like severe trauma and like related to grief or death or just, yeah, like even some of the more difficult things I wouldn't don't want to say on this video. But Mercury Pluto people can really have a capacity to not just think about these dark things, but have an expertise or a mastery in these realms that yeah, other people either don't want to think about or don't want to believe in or whatever, but the Mercury Pluto person has gone there. So that's probably the biggest gift of these aspects is just that incredible depth. And it's, as much as they can actually have a lot of fears and paranoia and suspicion, they don't. It doesn't stop them from studying something or deeply going into some topic because they might have fears or suspicions. It actually, if anything, it's like because they have fears or suspicions about certain things, that like they might feel like an uncontrollable urge to study these things deeper than anyone, because that helps them feel a sense of control in what they feel or what they've experienced as a very uncontrollable and chaotic world. Now, their style of communication, this is where we run into some problems, and this is where we can see relationship difficulties with these people. And it's really sad because they usually don't intend to come off this way, but they also, without understanding astrology or this aspect, they can't really help it. So there's a very strong forcefulness in the way these people communicate that can definitely border on attacking others at times. Now, especially the opposition, more so than the square, the opposition actually feels like the outer world and people that they're communicating with are attacking them. And so that's why they attack back, but often they don't realize that it was just their perception of being attacked. They truly were not being attacked or criticized, or they can really actually feel almost even, I would say, like a social anxiety, like of like people seeing their vulnerabilities or seeing that they are not smart. That's a big one for people with hard aspects of Mercury to Pluto. And I feel like this is actually common in, and that this might not be true in all cases, but like when there is like a lot of siblings or something, and this person had to like fight to be heard, otherwise they would just be talked over, right? So it's like maybe it's not siblings, but maybe it was just like there was a chaotic sort of upbringing where there was a lot of noise or something, and like in order for the Mercury Pluto person to be heard, they had to either yell or they had to like speak with such an intensity that would grab the attention of their parents or whoever it is that they were trying to communicate with. So this is sort of like where it's coming from, is like they did not feel heard, or they did not feel like their intellect was respected or even considered in their childhood. So they come off like they're gonna tell you something, and they speak with a great intensity and passion and actual magnetism. They can be very charismatic speakers, but it often comes off as them attacking you. And when you're on the other side of this, it can be so painful. These people can bring you to tears in a second. Their words can cut like a knife, and it is so painful to be on the receiving end of even just like a remark of that. Like it could just be a sentence. And because, like I said about how they're so able to see things so deeply, they can see your flaws. They can really hit you where it hurts, like if they are trying to make their point or get their point across. And see, they learned this so that they could be heard. It was like a defense mechanism, right, of them not being heard or respected. So they learned how to be so forceful, so cutting with their words, that they could be noticed and they could be seen, and they could be respected and yeah, most importantly, heard. So it's tricky because more than most any other aspects, they also don't like to be told anything about themselves or about their perceptions, or these things that they've studied. They don't particularly do well in the student role. They would rather be the teacher or the authority, but And often they, have such an accumulation of knowledge that they are in a superior position, but they can be hard to talk to because of, it can actually be, sometimes it can be a bit of closed mindedness, and not all the time, because they're obviously like so deeply intrigued by so many matters, but like they can appear rather closed-minded when someone else is trying to voice their opinion, or someone else is trying to share maybe a new thought with them, and their first instinct can be to attack it, to criticize it, to point out exactly what is wrong with this person's idea or their thoughts on things. Now, that doesn't make you a very safe person to communicate with. And over time, in the worst case scenario of these aspects, and this might be more with the opposition because the square can sometimes learn, and the square can sometimes show a lot more inner tension than actual relationship tension. But they both can have a tendency to do this. It just, the opposition can be more relationship difficulties, right? Because the opposition is a relational aspect, and the opposition person is less aware that this is even going on because they think it's coming from them, right? You know what I'm talking about. If you've got Mercury opposite Pluto, they are attacking you. I know. And that's what it feels like. But anyways, what can end up happening is a very isolating life experience because people don't feel safe to be vulnerable with you. People straight up will avoid you at times, especially they will avoid confrontation with you. And if they've got an opinion or they've got to tell you something that will challenge your current state on a matter, people are going to avoid you, and you can lose friends, you can lose relationships, you can, one like cutting remark to someone can absolutely scar them for life, and they might never want to talk to you again. And you can end up feeling a lot of regret over how you've communicated. And that can also lead to a bit of social anxiety because you know the power of your words, you know how you've screwed up before in the past, and how you've lost people and you've lost friends, and you truly did not mean to do it. It's just a very instinctual way that you communicate that is very attacking towards other people. And there can be many enemies of people with these aspects. Now, hopefully, you're gonna learn pretty early on that you have this power when you communicate, because that's really what it is. I mean, think about it. If you have the power with one sentence to absolutely scar someone for life, then what else do you have the power to do? You have the power with one sentence to change the course of someone's life for the better. And people do really listen to you. They can't not, with your intelligence, your power in the way that you communicate, your depth of knowledge. People want to look to you as an authority. They naturally do. And with just a little bit of like awareness of how you come off, you can make sure, or try to take a few breaths before you speak, and make sure, like, ask yourself a few questions like, is it loving? Is it kind? Is it empowering for this other person? Right? And having some sort of practice like that will absolutely save your life with these aspects. So, this is actually one of the first aspects that I probably ever noticed in someone when I was studying astrology as a teen. My very first love had this square, and also my dad has the opposition. So that's some of my real world examples of this. But what I noticed specifically about the square was that there was almost like, and also he had Mercury and Leo. When he got fired up about something, there was an inability to reason with him, and a very condescending or attacking way of speaking. And it seemed to me like a very big mental, energetic block where you can't, like, once you're, in your mode of thinking, you're communicating, it's like you can't see how you're coming across. And also, like, sometimes you don't care um, how you're coming across. And it can be quite a vindictive mind. There can be a lot of anger in the mind. There can be a lot of desire to win and to like exert so much power and influence over someone's mind, like almost like to out of revenge for like the way that you were treated when you were young and how you had no voice. And like it can turn into something very ugly and difficult. Now, like I said, there's many benefits to these aspects. You can't trick someone with these aspects. They know you better than you know you. And it can feel uncomfortable being around them. You can make people uncomfortable. So, some people with these aspects, when they start realizing that their energy and their way of communicating does this, they do put in an extra effort to make people comfortable. And you could see them being, very over accommodating or very people pleasing almost because they're so aware at what happens when they don't do that. But that's also too extreme of a reaction with this. It's like there needs to be a balance of like honoring who you are in this way that you think and communicate, and then also being more pleasing to allow better relationships with others and to allow you to be communicating healing words rather than hurtful words. So, yeah, another gift of this is being very persuasive, a very good speaker, actually. That might not come naturally at the beginning of life, but like once you kind of get a handle on Pluto's energy, it is like you can literally cause death with your words. Like, I mean, obviously that's just not entirely like a physical death, but like you could cause death to someone's limitations or limited constructs in their brain with just a sentence, or you could bring them life. Like there is a real quality of like healing words, and even I would say healing hands. It's almost like the nervous system is very highly charged, that if you focus this energy on healing, like some form of like body work or healing, that could also be a very good use of it. But the main thing is going to be words heal or harm with these aspects. And yeah, what else do I want to say about this? This video is already really long, but yeah, this was probably one of the first aspects that I ever noticed, and I was like, whoa, this is a big one. And now I'm starting to really see the beautiful gifts in it. But yeah, I think just a few of the things I've said in this video will really, really help you. Also, the mental state can have such a high level of anxiety. Some form of meditation, exercise, positive thinking, hypnosis to allow positive thinking, because your mind is going to automatically perceive threats and danger and chaos. And that can be really good if you're in the type of work or something that needs your mind to be like that. But in the everyday, day-to-day reality, you can be overly paranoid and suspicious. So you want to really work with like some form of positive thinking or hypnosis that can reprogram your brain, because then you're going to be, like I said, an absolute powerhouse. And like people respect you, people listen to you. They can't not when you have these aspects. Now, what I said earlier, the square is going to be more an inner tension. They can sometimes have real high anxiety, mental health issues. It's more inner, but it's also, they can catch on to it, that they're doing this maybe easier because the tension is so extreme. The Mercury opposite Pluto people have more of a tendency to think that it's the outer world out to get them. But if they can really work on, realizing that sometimes it is their own thoughts manifesting that outer reaction, and like sometimes they're the ones attacking first because they perceived an attack coming from someone else. And really, what both of you need is just to realize that now, you know, people want to listen to you. You don't have to over exert your voice or your words. Like, you can just relax and trust that people want to hear what you have to say. People want to hear your ideas. But also, one of the great laws of life is that when you are a good listener and you listen to others, then they want to listen to you, right? So maybe working on your own listening skills and, really like focusing on being the type of person that others want to communicate with as well. And this will help your relationships a lot. So, yeah, sending you all the love if you have these hard aspects. I definitely think these are some of the hardest natal aspects that you can have, but there's many amazing gifts with them as well. You guys are extremely powerful people. So, anyways, thank you for watching, you guys. Love you guys so much, and thank you for your requests. Keep those requests coming, and we'll talk soon. Okay, bye.